Here's POV. I was surprised when I saw the entire event. The entire place was filled with wildflowers and it beautifies the location where the coronation night would happen. I saw many different faces and the chairs were arranged properly with the alpha and luna of every packs. And from the very end of those tables and chairs, Alejandro's family were sitting, talking with the other alpha. But I was put in a state of astonishment when I could not see Alejandro and the other who were familiar to me. "Where are they, Andrasi?" I asked while I kept my eyes around the area. I don't know. Maybe they have something to do, you know this is the best night. The coronation and the gathering night. Heh. Andrasi laughed at her own joke that does not laughable. Okay. I briefly replied and I sit on the chair not too far from the center island. "Here. This is our seat." Andrasi called me when she saw me sitting on the common chair. I was little wondered but I followed her since I am Severus' mate and I need to become a honorable woman tonight. Suddenly, the speaker spoke and he greeted everyone. I felt shame since only Andrasi and I were sitting on the couch and nothing else. I looked at the back and the visitors were all listening to the pleasantries of the man in the front. "Andrasi, are you sure that tonight is the coronation night?" I asked Doga and it made Andrasi to look at me and smile. Sigh. "Yes. Tonight is the coronation. And why are you keep on asking that? Is Severus and you don't have any conversation?" Andrasi asked and I was upset hearing that since Severus and I have a quarrel for almost a week. And we did not have time to talk in each other. Might be he just purposively doing that so I could not bother him in his work. Or he was busy doing his part. But no matter what was the reason, I still grouching by myself. "No. We don't," I asked lowering my voice. Andrasi looked at me seriously but I did not want to see my face now burning in anger as I recalled how my conversation with Severus ended. Suddenly, my anger was been replaced by surprise as I heard the musical instrument that caught my attention. The lightings were turned on and the entire venue was enlightened. But I was still empty-minded for the next thing that might happen. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome previous king, King Anselmo Abram," the speaker shouted and everyone shouted for joy as they welcomed the king's father. I took a deep breath and I let my anger pass by since Mr. Abram was now in the stages. Long live! Long live! Long live! The crowd were very happy seeing the old king. All of them were shouting in joy but I stayed silent. "Silence, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, the very important thing will happen. I invited you all for this unforgettable night of my only son, Severus Abram," Ansel happily announced. And even I was a little angry for his son. I still smiling as a respect and I thought that tonight was the true coronation event. I wanted to call our new elected king, King Severus of the Moonchaser Pack. Give him a round of applause. Please welcome King Severus Abram. Alpha Ansel added and the entire place were filled with applause. They were excitedly stood to welcome the king. I was excitedly stood too. And the beating of my heart was palpitating widely not because I will see him again but because of his success as the new elected king of all werewolves. And after a few moments of waiting, the artificial fogs explode comes with the balloons that came from the top of the ceiling. "Wow! The event is so awesome," Andrasi whispered happily and I was agreed with her. The people kept their eyes at the stages and I suddenly sensed Severus's wolf. "He's here." I muttered that only myself could hear. I calmed myself and let the beating of my heart to relax itself. Severus, the new king, walked toward the stages and everyone shouted in joy. He wore his cold expression that made everyone to stun at his attractive attitude. The crowd started to greet the king on his arrival. Long live King Severus! Long live! Long live King Severus! Long live! Long live King Severus! Long live! He was wearing a nifty white suit and black trouser that match with his muscular tan body. And because of his appealing aura, he became the center of attention of all women's eyes who waited for his arrival. He smiled as he scanned the area, which filled with different faces and races, when he halted his steps in the middle of the stages. One of the king's assistant walked and gave him microphone. Good eve everyone. Thank you for coming in this lovely night that we, my packs, prepared. All of you are here to witness the night that we all cannot forget, and this night is my pleasure to have all of you. Severus spoke his pleasantries and the crowd clapped their hands as they heard the welcome ceremony of the king. When he finished his speech, he could not resist himself not to look at Hirre, who was quite beautiful. His eyes twinkled every time he glanced at Hirre's beauty that exposed when the spotlights struck at her face. Severus's POV. My heart beats abnormally. I did not know why I still feel this kind of feeling inside me, even I already prepared this night. It gives me a shivering knees while I was in the backstage thinking the beauty of my mate, and my future Luna. While I'm waiting, Alejandro approached at me and he said, Severus, my king. Tonight, I am very thankful that Goddess chose you to be her Alpha King. For sure she will be happy in her entire life with you. Please take care of her and don't hurt her like what I do. She is precious than the ruby. She need to take care like she was the only girl in this world. I looked at him and I felt how sincere his words. I tapped his shoulder and replied, don't worry. Even you did not say those words, I will do it more than I love myself. I will be his man and she will be my only one lady. Alejandro smiled as he nodded his head. This is my honor to meet you, Severus. He added before he said goodbye to go to the event. And when he was gone, I thought about Hirre and I thought that I would be a lucky guy to own her from the day that we knew that we were mates. And when I heard my name, I stood firmly to make myself respectful man in their eyesight. After a short pleasantries, I ended up looking at Hirre's beauty. And even there were many beautiful young lady, daughters of the Alpha and Luna of every packs. Her beauty was still on the top. I saw from the distance the eyes of my beloved woman staring at me. And even I was on the stages, her smell entered in my nose that made my wolf to come out. I want to have sex with her, wolf. One Demos growled inside me. His voice echoed inside my head and I wanted him to shut up. Demos. Not now. Don't act like a desperate dog. I warned my wolf since he was acting like a lustful wild dogs. No. I want to taste her again. Demos retorted and I was annoyed for having a hard-headed wolf. I took a deep breath and calmly spoke. Sigh. I think, I need to lock you while the event is still going. And when Demos was about to talk, I locked him immediately. He was cooing inside for sure, but I need to teach him a lesson. After a while, the elders came to bless me. They give me the crown that I need to have. I was very happy having this position so I could do anything to protect my people. And while I was standing, I saw Hirre staring at me. I felt my heart was melting and I decided to execute the plan that I prepared. I looked at the upper part of the stages and there were my Gamma and Beta. They were waiting for my signal and I took a deep breath. Severus mind-linked Gamma and Beta. And when the Teo caught the ordered, the lights were suddenly turned off. The people panicked and even Hirre was shocked on the sudden darkness. The people held each other and their guards quickly get closer to their master. Hirre felt the surrounding but she felt that there were no one standing beside her. "Andrasi. Where are you?" she asked but no one answered her. Even the voices that echoed a moment ago was gone. Hirre did not know how to react. She sharpened her senses however, there was no danger that she could sense. The deafening silence made the arena creepier. She embraced her body and when she was about to use her witchcraft to create fire, a huge arm caught her. It was fast a wind and even it was too dark, the guy managed to get care from her position. She was really afraid and when she was about to cry for help, the lights were turned on. And she found herself on the stages. The lights started to fill the entire place and the trace of any fear suddenly gone when she saw her loved one standing on the front stage. "What are they doing here in Sudden?" she asked wondering. And she quickly scanned the area. The people were still in good condition. They were finally sitting like there was no trouble that happened recently. Hirre knitted her eyebrows violently as she thought that everyone wanted to have a good time with her. But when she looked again at her grandpa, she was been surprised, seeing some bead of tears that dripped from his chin. "What is happening?" she was really wondering as she saw how weird the people around her. She wanted to ask but when she was about to step, the romantic music was been played. She averted her gaze away from her grandpa and she looked at her back. And how surprised she felt when she saw Severus walking toward her. She kept standing on her position while the music was still playing romantically. "Severus. What are the meaning of this?" I thought. She was stuttering as she spoke but Severus looked at him meaningfully. The crowd were staring at them. All of the eyes were only focused on the center of the stages where the two was standing. Suddenly, Severus kneeled at Hirre's front. All of the women who watching were have teary eyes as they kept on watching. Some felt the feeling of lost as they saw the king kneeling for a vow. Hirre widened her eyes, she could not expect this to happen. "Severus. What is this all about?" Hirre added and Severus gives him a smile. While Hirre was still on belief, Severus took the microphone that his assistants prepared for him. "Hirre Monreal, Vermont, I am the king of Werewolf world but now. I considered myself as a slave of your attention and love. I was respected by the people around us tonight but for you. I will respect you as the only woman that I want to serve with all my life. You are the precious stone that I need to keep and the one I wish to have, the reason of my success and the hope of my days. And tonight, I want to show to all of my people how beautiful you are. I want to show them that I am ready to take risk to have you hands at this time." Severus sincerely said his oath and the crowd felt the romantic feeling toward the two. Hirre was speechless, only she could do was to cover her mouth with her bare hands. She could not believe that all those days that she was ignored by Severus, the man she hates, give her this unforgettable night in the front of the numbers of people. Her eyes suddenly become teary as she looked around. Andrasi was crying too, proudly made a peace thumb to her. Even Mr. Vermont cried as he saw his only granddaughter in the place where every girl's dream for. And when she looked around, she could not stop herself not to cry when Severus pronounced the awaited speech. "Hirre Monreal. Will you marry me? Here's POV. Will you marry me? Those words made me stunned when he took the small red heart-shaped thing. And when he opened it, the golden ring with its 2-centimeter pink diamond was appeared. It enlightened the stages when the spotlight struck on it. Might be it was the expensive jewelry that I might received from a man. Except from the branded designed clothes and shoes that my grandpa gave to me, I could not move as I heard that from Severus. My eyes were opened wide because of a feeling of being surprised. As well as my knees were shivering, finding my strength to stand a bit. I slapped my cheeks slightly to know if this was not a dream. Because if this was just a dream, I don't want to awake. I wanted to sleep forevermore, with this man in this kind of feeling. Hirre Monreal, will you marry me? Severus asked me again, and from this second question, for sure this was not a dream. I cried in happiness, bearing the romantic feeling that I felt as the moment that he held my shivering hand. He kept on of his knee kneeled while waiting for my response. I thought his feet were numbed, but I could not respond yet since my tongue could not move very well. Seemed like there was something that tried to prevent me from talking. I heard the crowd cheering me to say yes. I bit my lips and I stretched my hand to give him. I opened my. Why yes. Yes I do. I was stuttered as I replied. My heartbeats abnormally seemed like a beating of a musical instrument that played every time his fingers touched mine. He smiled and he carefully took the ring inside and he carefully put it on my ring fingers. It was exactly fitted me and it obviously mine since I found my name abbreviation. I looked carefully at the ring that Severus gave to me and the pink diamond was perfectly matched with my candle-like fingers. Severus stood and he embraced me. I felt the warmth of his body and everyone stood to give us a round of applause. Suddenly, the whistle of the fireworks were heard and it exploded above us. The dark sky were enlightened by the colorful firecrackers and the music became louder. The crowd took their snapshot of the event. Severus held my hands and he kissed me under the bright sky. I could not move as well as my body could not resist the feeling that he gives to me right now. His kiss was different than before. The kiss that filled with love and respect. I let his lips taste mine and all I could do was to close my eyes and feel the burning love that we shared together with all people who witnessed us. After a while, my grandpa, my uncle and cousins went to the stages with Mr. Abram. They congratulate us and they greeted us happily. I hugged my grandpa and he was even proudly say that King Severus, my fiancé, was lucky enough to have me. Severus, take care my beloved granddaughter. She is the only thing I have. She is more than the wealth that she inherited from me, my grandpa said while his tears flowed on his eyes. I felt his pure love at me and I could not resist myself but to hug him. I love you grandpa. Thank you for everything, I said and he smiled at me. Don't worry Mr. Vermont. I will do anything to please your beloved granddaughter. Severus replied at my grandpa. I hope it from you Severus. My grandfather smiled as he say that words. Anyway, can we have some drinks? Let's celebrate. Uncle Lucio jumped on our conversation. And we agreed for his invitation. We drink while the visitors enjoying the foods and the event that happened. Severus did not go far away from me after we got engaged. He showed how gentleman he was while we were have some drinks. Alejandro and the others were very happy seeing me with the king. Might be because I achieved the dream of every woman, to have with the king for the entire life. It's already morning, but the two was still laying on the bed. They were still naked and only the white sheets covered their body. Hirre's face was buried on the muscular arm of Severus. She was peacefully sleeping like a princess who waited for prince's kiss. Severus slowly opened his eyes as the sun rays burst on the sky and reflected on the window. He looked at Hirre and he smiled as he remembered the last thing they made last night. He caressed Hirre's from cheek to hand. And he made another sweet smile when he saw the ring that he gave to her. "How lovely you are, my Luna," he muttered, and he continued to drive his fingers at Hirre's back. The smoothness of Hirre's skin made him to arise. When Hirre felt the warm touch of her Alpha King, she opened her eyes wearing the sweet smile. "Good morning, my Luna." Severus happily greeted her and Hirre embraced Severus, while greeted him too. "What a nice morning to have you," Hirre replied, and they kissed each other sweetly like before. And before she sunburst at the entire sky, both of them were excitedly went to the king's office to make a new rule and regulations of the werewolf world. And like what the past days, the armies, the hunters and the assassin werewolves taught the young ones to fight and use their strength in fighting, while Hirre taught the other how to use witchcraft. However, it become hard for her since the kids afraid to encounter witch. But she did not give up. She managed to call the half-blood people to be with her in teaching the young witch from using magic. All day long they were trained themselves and everyone showed the eagerness to defend themselves. Hirre proudly watched the young cooperated to each other. "I never thought that this kind of world would be happen," Severus said as he stood near by the window. He kept on watching the people below. Ansel, his father, stood and he approached at his son. "You know why? Because Hirre help you to have a good world. She connected people, together with the witches. She never tired to make the world peaceful," Ansel said, and Severus suddenly remembered about Gregor. "Speaking of peace, Gregor's troop are still hiding. And even they are still silent, for sure they planning a great explosion that can be happen any time," Severus said while he's scanning the entire area from the highest building. "We need to secure every pack, from smallest to biggest. We need to send the good fighters so they will protect the packs," Ansel suggested, and the elders agreed with that. Severus nodded his head. Gamma Elias was looking at him, seemed like he was waiting for the new order. Meanwhile, Severus' phone rung. Betelio immediately gave the phone. Severus knitted his eyebrows as he received a call. His smile suddenly turned into a shrugged eyebrows that creates a deep line on his forehead. "Gamma Elias. Betelio. We need to hurry. Ordered the assassin to go to the packs. It's currently burning because of the sudden explosion," he growled as he ordered. Elias immediately stood and he quickly went in the outside with Betelio. "What happened?" Ansel asked, and Severus slammed the table as he retorted. "The anonymous troop call me and they hack our system. They attacked the pack and they burnt all the things that belongs to the pack. But I did not get too much information since the caller intended to block me because of the enemies that chasing her," Severus said, and the elders were panicked about safety of their people. "We need to hurry. Call the armies and send them to Huam." One elder stood and he angrily shouted. "Don't worry, Elder Monroe. Everything will be alright. I will send the fighters as soon as possible," Severus stated, and he sat on the chair. He slapped his forehead and closed his eyes. "I need to end the evil plan of that lunatic bastard," he whispered, and clenched his hands tightly into fist. And when he opened his eyes, he glared and his wolf wanted to escape. Kill them all. Boo-wah-ha-ha-ha. The terrifying laughter was heard. The heavy footsteps and the cries of the people made the night more terrifying. The explosion was heard all round. The wild beast that attacked used to bite the head to remove it away from the bodies of their victims. The cry of the children and elders seemed like a music to him as he swayed his hands every time his men killed them. I love the music. Make it louder, he shouted, and he looked like a meshuggah cracksy-minded people, as he. No one will escape, even run from my eyes. Kill and show no mercy. The man added while he was standing on the top of the wooden chair. He watched the people who tanned for their life. The children cried and their voices were become a terror night. All of them saved themselves. Some become selfish for pushing other to their willingness to survive, but even they tried their best to escape. The enemies did not spare them alive. Lord Trainer. What we will gonna do to this beautiful young ladies? The group of men came, bringing their captured women who have an age range of 15 to 27. Bring them to the iron jail and become our source of pleasure later. Kek. Trainer said, and his devil-like laughter was heard again. The captured women glared at Trainer and some of them were begging for mercy. Who hell are you? One woman asked while her eyes were furiously glaring at Trainer Gregor. It's been a month when I stopped making a nightmare. And seemed like my name isn't blooming in this pack. Am I right? Trainer jumped from the top of the wooden chair and he looked down at the woman. His eyes looked straight at the woman's face. Spurt. The woman bravely spitted saliva on Trainer face. Oh shit. You are so tough, huh? Trainer smirked as he removed the saliva from his face. I like this woman. She have a great power and strength. Who are you, fucker? The woman shouted again and Trainer smirked turned into a horrifying look. Let me introduce you myself, bitch, Trainer said, and he held tightly the woman's face and forced her to look at him. Give me my identity, Trainer shouted, and one of his men gave him a syringe. What are you trying to do with my sister? The young girl asked angrily while she was pulled toward the iron jail. She angrily wagged her body so the two men would hardly to bring her at the jail. But even she do her best, as she saw her sister forcibly kneeled on the ground by the muscular man. Let her go. The young girl kept on shouting and it heard by Trainer. What the fuck are you shouting for? Trainer immediately turned his head toward the location of the young girl. Are you deaf? Let her go. The young girl retorted while she kept on wagging like a worm in the pinched on salt. Hee hee. You two are so brave, huh? Let's see who is the bravest among us. Trainer muttered as he pulled the woman recently on her hair. He immediately clenched it tightly and the woman screamed louder when her scalp was been stretched hardly. Ugh! The woman cried and it echoed around the area. The people heard the voice and they felt horrible. They ran faster as they could and some of the men who were able to fight, used their wolf. But they were looked like a piece of trash every time they met the beastly kind of rouges that attacked them. Not my sister. Let her go. Even though the woman felt pain, she's still begging for her sister's life. Let her go. Please. Kill me if you want. But please let her go. She added, and her tears flowed down. Trainer shook his head and uttered, as the longtime king of all king, I will never fail for granting beautiful woman's wish. And when the young girl heard that, she stomped her feet and cried, no. Sister, no. She kept on shouting and Trainer knitted his eyebrows violently. You chatty little piece of shit. Up to this time you still have an itchy mouth, trainer yelled and the men were smirked as they heard their lord getting mad. The show is going to be happen. Kek. One of the men spoke and all of the Rouges roared, "What are you going to do?" the lady recently asked while her body was bent harshly by the muscular man in the ground. Her clothes were ruined as it tore apart by the careless grip of the enemies. "Don't become so excited. Later, you will know him," the ugly man whispered on the lady's ear and he licked the side of her neck after he spoke. The lady closed her eyes every time the tip of the man's tongue touched her cheek. Ugh! The woman angrily endured the stingy smell of the bad rouges while she was licked by its long tongue. "You taste good, sweetie," the man added as he pulled again the hair of the lady to make it tilted up. The lady could not move and she could only wished one thing, and it was to have someone who would help them. Her hands, even her knees were shaking hardly. The tears flowed down on her cheeks and even Ye tried to become strong. Her inside self was so weak that could not handle the thing that she felt at that moment. "Let's show to this filthy woman the real identity of myself." "Wahaha!" Tressner growled. The men laughed like thousands of devil watching their victims to death. The men brought back the ladies from the jail and they used to make them kneel to the dirty dry ground. "Remove their clothes," Tressner shouted and all of the ladies were trembling in fear. All of them cried and they forced themselves to escape from the hands of the men. But the more they struggles, the more they get hurt. And the men started to tear of the clothes that they wore. The hands of the women tried to get their clothes even it were now ruined. They were looked like a beggar that waiting for someone to give them mercy. Together of that pitiful women, the sisters of the lady recently was also kneeled on the dirty ground. She could no longer take any more the thing that she saw at her friends. But she could not move because two men were holding her hands and one of them was grabbing her hair tightly. Trainer held the syringe and the greenish liquid spurt on it as he pulled it slowly. The ladies saw the things and they were widened their eyes. They sensed the danger on it. Their throats get dry as they swallowed their saliva. "Bring me that woman," Trainer shouted as he pointed the young girl. "And no, not my sister. I told you. Just kill me instead of her. Please, I begging you," the lady said crying hardly but Trainer didn't listen. The muscular man brought the young girl, and Trainer took her from his men. Thud. The young girl rolled on the ground as she lost her balance after Trainer pushed her away. Her hands were filled with dirt and bruises. "Arg!" The young girl cried in pain as she felt the pointed thing pierced on her neck. The liquid inside it inserted into the skin surface to the veins. "Nika!" the lady shouted in grief as she saw her lovely sisters suddenly collapsed and fell on the ground twitching and there was no sign of stopping anytime soon. She struggled violently as she wanted to help her sister. But the men who holding her did not spare her freedom to get closer to her sister who was still on the ground. "I'm Trainer Morg. The night terror of the past decades. And I'm here to spread nightmare to all of you. 15 seconds from now and the new beast will be created." "Ha ha ha," Trainer shouted and the people who could heard that terrifying news were looked at each other and they did not know how to react when the young girl from recently suddenly twitched again hardly on the ground. The blood veins were puffing out that seemed like it going to burst anytime soon. It turned greenish and there was a possibilities that even her blood would turn as green as well. Suddenly, the crowd were put in shock when the loud growl invaded the entire place. "At last! My new recruit is done," Trainer shouted and the lady recently cried a lot. "Anika!" the lady shouted as she saw her sisters rolled on the ground. Bring the iron shackle. Make sure that she will tied up carefully, Trainer shouted as he glared at the girl. The men quickly put the shackle on Nika's neck and they carefully tied the end of the chain on the tough part of the iron jail. After the chain was been set up, Anika's thin body suddenly turned as a muscular one and it grew bigger than usual. Her sister was shocked and shivering in fear as she saw her sister's transformation. Anika. What is happening with you? Let her go. She not an animal. The lady gritted her teeth in anger when she saw her sister's appearance turned like a beast. It was not just an ordinary wolf but it have a resemblance with Lycan. She is no longer your sister, beautiful lady. Kek. The man behind the lady whispered and it made some tiny goosebumps around her skin. What did you do to her? She asked as she kept on looking at her sister with pity. She is now turning like us. Kek. Don't worry. She is better than us, for correction. Thanks to the Lord because your sister is more stronger than you. The man added and the lady could not get what she heard. Only thing she could do was to hope for the safety of her sister. Grrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr It grew all over her body and she became one of the beast. The lady was frightened seeing her sister now become a totally wild beast. Anika. The lady kept on shouting while her tears dripped from her cheeks. But her sisters did not recognize her anymore. The girl named Anika growled and it lost her control. She ran and snapped her sharp teeth. She was so massive and even her friends could not recognize her. Now, in this place, everyone will have to be option. To live like this. Or die like this, Trainer shouted and she pointed the beast. Take her sister and bring her inside jail. We need to feed pure new recruit beast. Boo-wah-ha-ha-ha. After hearing the horrifying voice of their leader, the men forcibly took the lady toward the jail and locked it together with the new beast. Ack! The lady growled as she was slammed on the cold metal floor. She quickly sat using the force coming from her arms. She needed to stand to help her younger sister from the deadly things inside her body. And when she looked up, she did not expected that the beast would be with her inside the jail. The massive black beast glaring at her while the sticky saliva dripped from the edge of its mouth seemed like it wanted to eat her in whole. Anika. I'm your sister. Lord. Your sister Lord. The woman stuttering as she spoke but even she repeated her names, her younger sister did not recognize her anymore. Grr. The beast gritted her teeth in anger and it faced the lady. She snapped as she walked slowly at her sister. Fortunately, there was chain that helped to limit the movement of her body. Anika. It's me. Hoo-hoo-hoo. The lady cried as she saw how her sister reacted to her. She felt hopeless as she saw how the men laughed at her. She could not decide where she going to look at, if on the outside or at her sister that turned into beast. Anika. Listen. You are not a beast, okay? You need to fight the drug inside you so you can back originally. Please. Help yourself. The lady raised her hand in the front of the beast, 5 meters away from her. Instead of calmness, the beast became aggressive. It quickly chased her sister. Fortunately, only the dress of her sister was ruined and there was no bruises and wound were found. And because of being surprised, the woman slipped on the floor and she saw entirely the massive size of her sister. And even she turned herself as a wolf, she could not equal the size of Anika's beast. The beast struggles and the jail trembled. The lady was afraid that her sister would kill her without a good state of her mind. After a moment of pause, the beast kept on struggling and the shackle was removed from her neck. The beast walked violently and it went to the direction of the lady. Anna. No. The woman shouted as she closed her eyes so she would not see the next situation. Thud. Silence. The lady was stunned as she realized that she was still alive after she opened her eyes. She immediately looked at her sister and she was surprised seeing her lying on the floor. And the boisterous sound that she heard from recently came from the outside. She did not know what happened, so she looked around and she saw the massive grey and black wolves fighting against the muscular beast who killed the half of the people of the pack. Help me, she cried as she saw how the wolves came to rescue the women from the next jail. But when she shouted, the beast stood again and the chain fell from its neck. Anika. She did not stop saying her sister's name. But it was too late because the beast was ready to open its mouth to bite her to death. Whoosh! Suddenly, a great sound was heard after the beast was hardly fell on the floor again. The lady was surprised and she suddenly turned numbed, thinking how her sister going to kill her. Lady! Get out from it! The voice from nowhere was heard and it brought her conscious back to her again. She felt hope and she thought about her sister's situation. Don't worry, Anika. We will be safe. She muttered as she cried. Get out. We need to kill the modified wolf as soon as possible. The voice made her to halt her tears. She widened her eyes and steps backward as she saw the wolves coming with the men in their black suit. And she was sure that they came from the king's militaries. The lady did not step forward to get out from the jail. Hey! Get out if you want to live. The military officers came and for sure, they were here to kill the beast. And no. I will never let you in. The lady said bravely. She stood firmly and stretched her arms wide. Are you out of your mind? Don't you see that that beast is going to kill you? Beta Leo came as he was called by one of King's assassin. No. I will never let you to kill her. The lady kept on protecting the beast. You need to get out or else. Beta Leo angrily growled but the woman stayed inside. Don't kill her. She is my sister. Please. Just help me to remove the drug inside her. The woman stated and it made Leo to knit his eyebrows violently. Okay. I will help you and you so-called sister if you get out from the jail, Leo said and the woman was pleased. Leo felt better seeing the woman making her steps away from the iron bar. But when the lady was closer to the door, the beast was awake and it immediately approached the lady. Move faster! Leo shouted but the time was too fast to the woman. Because, after a few moments, the beast opened its mouth and ate the woman entirely. The beast took the head away from the woman's body. What the? Leo widened his eyes as he saw how the bite force of the beast easily killed the lady. Elias. There is another beast here. Leo contacted Elias who immediately responded to his news. Kill it. Make sure that it will breathless before you leave it, Elias ordered and the assassins were immediately killed. Anika. The women who witnessed the tragic event of the two siblings cried but they needed to survive. Elias. Did you find Trainer? Leo asked again after killing Anika. Not for now. He escaped after unleashing the beast that they prepared. It become hard for us to chase him since the beast are all modified wolves. They have the strength that equivalent of 3 trained wolves. Elias stated and Leo was stunned as he heard that. He averted his gaze away from nowhere and looked at the beast they killed recently. Maybe this one is just a kid. Trainer is really a bad devil. He must die for doing this. Leo muttered, and he went to the women that they rescued recently. Do you know what happened before that kid turned as a beast? He asked the young lady that's sitting on the very corner of the room. She nodded her head and started to tell the story. Leo shook his head as he heard the true story. He felt that they were facing the great challenge that even Severus could not resolve himself. What is happening? Hirre asked Severus as she knew that there was another attack that happened at the fifth largest pack. She could not calm herself because she felt worthless every time she remembered the time that she met Trainer in the woods. Shit. Why, I did not notice that he is the real enemy at that moment. I'm so stupid. Sigh. Next time I will never let him to escape from my hands, she muttered as she slapped her forehead as she felt lost. Suddenly, he was interrupted when Severus answered him. The Huan pack is now in devastating situation. Trainer spread nightmare and he injected drugs to the person he wanted. And some of the beasts that our troop killed were just an innocent kids and elders. Unfortunately, Trainer escaped with his men. For sure, they have another pack to be ruined, Severus stated, and even he felt anger every time he thought about the situation of the Huan pack. So what should we do? Hirre asked again. What if the majority turned into his beast? How can we kill those innocent people who don't know what they are doing? She added, and her face could not paint because of the problem that make her feel uneasiness. I already sent the half of our assassin and hunters. And the elders also sent their troop to the Hua to trace Trainer movement. But the problem that we faced for now is the question that you asked. I really don't know how can we stop the drugs to enter their body since it affected the victim's conscious in just a seconds. I think we need to be merciless. Kill them no matter who they are so no one will put in danger, Severus bravely proclaimed. Hirre tilted her head down and she took a deep breath. She have plenty of things that she wished to happen, but she felt that everything will be complicated. Here. I think we need to collide. Our world needs us, Severus said seriously, and his deep sigh was heard. I already think about that, Sev. We need the strength of everyone. Don't worry, I will be here no matter what, Hirre said, and she looked at Severus with a warm smile. Thank you, Hirre, I'm so lucky to have you, Severus replied, and he took a deep breath. Cring. The phone rang and Severus immediately answered. Did you catch Trainer? Severus asked as he glared at somewhere. We still looking for him. But he quickly vanished after injecting the majority of the innocent people with the drugs. Elias replied with despair. Shit. Severus slapped his forehead. He was worried about the innocent people who become the victim of Trainer's bad doing. Did you kill them? He added. Yes. But some of them they are so strong. The drugs that injected on their body is differ from the drug that you test before. They are all modified and their body have a good endurance, Elias added, and it made Severus to knit his eyebrows. Elias. Tell Leo to gather the remaining pieces of the modified werewolves. We need to gather them as soon as possible to make an antidote, even if it is not exactly to defeat the drug inside their body. At least, we able to make the drug effect slower than usual, Severus stated, having a glimpse of hope as he spoke. King, I think we are running out of time. The drugs that they injected was too rare. And for sure, they created it and restore long time ago. Because, the effectiveness of the drugs hallucinated the victim before they turned into a beast, Elias stated. His voice seemed like on the midst of the nothingness. He could not speak well since the battle was still ongoing. He just find the safest place to ensure his life before he called Severus. "King, give us an order," Elias added as he could not receive any words from the king. "Kill the beast. Protect the people," Severus bravely uttered as he kept on glaring at the direction where the moon shone brightly. Elias nodded his head once again and he looked at his surrounding. The great horror faced him as she saw how the people kept on running to save their life. "What a good evening, everyone," Trainer roared as he stepped his feet on the ground. He wearing his wide grin as he scanned the peaceful pack of the Moonchaser pack. He seemed like a visitor as he kept on looking at the wide land of the Moonchaser. "Is this the dean of the Lionheart family?" Trainer asked his beta as he kept on scanning the wide land of the Moonchaser pack. "Yeah. And the alpha of this pack is now unguarded. His wolf is gone after he received the witchcraft from his Luna," Trainer's beta added, and Trainer was stunned after hearing that. "Who's that Luna? Is she a witch also, like Hillary?" Trainer excitedly asked. Suddenly, their conversation was ruined when a voice of a woman was heard. "Are you looking for me?" Trainer and the group of men turned their head where the sound coming from. And they saw Claire standing, wearing black hoodie sleeves. "Who are you, beautiful lady?" Trainer asked as he looked at Claire's appearance. His eyes wandered from tip of Claire's toe to her head. "Don't dare to look at me like that," Claire said while rolling her eyes violently. "You are such a bad girl, huh?" Trainer replied as he shook his head. "Why are looking at the entire pack of the Moonchaser? Who the fuck are you?" Claire asked again seriously. "Shit. I think you are the woman I looking for," Trainer whispered and he laughed after. "Boo-wah-ha-ha." Claire knitted her eyebrows as she heard the laughter of the devil in her front. "What's funny?" Claire asked as she crossed her arms on the front of her chest. She rolled her eyes and averted her gaze away from the men. "Nothing. We are just having fun since we found you. Anyway, we have something due to," Trainer replied and he took the cigar from his beta. "Where are you going?" Claire asked as she saw the men starting their cars. "Somewhere where we can make terror," Trainer whispered and the men started to laugh. "What kind of shit are you planning?" she asked again and the men looked at each other, seemed like they waiting for their alpha's response. "Actually, we plan to ruin the world that the king want to build with," Trainer replied and he took one smoke. "See, can I join?" Claire stuttered when she spoke. "Ha ha ha. You?" One man laughed and it made Claire to annoy. "TCH. Let's go," Beta Cludio replied and he shook his head while averting her gaze away from Claire. Trainer followed his beta and P entered the car again. "Wait. I can lead you to the king's destruction. If you will let me to join your troop, I will do anything you want," Claire added and the men halted. What were they doing? "How?" Trainer asked while he took a glance at Claire again. "I know who is the king's weakness. For sure, he will give up his life if that woman died," Claire replied and she seriously looked at Trainer. "Then lead me there. And I grant you a wish." Trainer spoke seriously and took one smoke again. "All I want is to see them crawling on the ground, begging for mercy," Claire uttered, clenching her hand into fist. "Good," Trainer replied and he smirked. Claire kept on glaring at somewhere and she asked again. "So can I join with you?" Trainer shrugged his shoulder as he stated. "Prove me that." Claire knitted her eyebrows as she felt that Trainer was not just easy to convince. She took a deep sigh as she thought that it seemed like it's better to convince the Mirouges than Trainer's group. "Take this." Claire took something inside her pocket. "What is this?" Trainer asked as he saw the piece of paper that Claire gave to him. "That is the photo of the King's Luna. The heir of the Vermont's family. If you use that bitch, you will gain wealth and you may get the attention of the king." "Kiki. Got it," Trainer briefly said, and he ordered his men to start the car. "Shit," Clara whispered, and she looked at the direction where the troop of Trainer went. "After 2 days tilde. What's now?" Claire asked to the person in the other line. "Let's meet up." The man replied in the other line. Claire nodded her head and she ended up the call immediately. She put her phone inside her pocket and quickly covered again her face with turban and dark shades. Her eyes wandering around, observing if there was someone recognize her. She walked faster without looking backward. She needs to go to the place where Trainer wanted her to go. She quickly took her car and drove it away. Sigh. This life is shit. I look like a mere rat hiding under the dirty ditch, she angrily uttered as she kept on driving. Cring. 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 What the? Why this bastard so eager? I think I am on the wrong person to help, she muttered as she clenched her hand on the steering wheel. Cring. Cring. Her phone was still ringing and she felt annoyed. She hit the brake and the car stopped immediately. What's wrong with you? Did you know that I am on my way? Claire shouted as she answered the phone. Oh. You are such a bitch. 5 minutes and I want you to get here, Trainer retorted and he hung the phone. Shit. Claire muttered and she started again the car. She looked like a racer as she made a full speed. The dust flew every time she passed by. After 4 minutes tilde, Claire parked the car on the location that Trainer sent to him. She felt strange since the area was filled with tall creeping grasses. She looked around but there were no sign of any person around. She stood next to her car and kept on waiting for Trainer's signal. Suddenly, the creeping green grass shook and one door opened widely. She was stunned seeing the passageway that welcoming her to enter. She did not waste any time and quickly entered the den. It was too dark inside and when she made a few steps away from the metal door, it shut quickly and it created a horrifying sound. She looked backward and when the door was completely closed, the lights enlightened the hallway. And she realized that it was not just an ordinary den but a massive room. What the? She muttered when she felt amazement with the surrounding. She continued what she doing and her steps echoed when she finally reached the another door. And her excitement was changed and it turned into a terrifying feeling when she heard a growl and a yelp of the wolves. She halted his steps and leaned her head on the wall next to the door. And she felt frightened imagining the picture that she might see inside. What the hell are you doing here? A husky voice of a man was heard behind her which made her to leap from her position. I am Claire Sylvia. T. Resnar called me to come here. She was stuttering as she spoke when she saw the appearance of a man behind her. Come in, he replied seriously and Claire felt relief when the horrifying man opened the door for her. Oh my God, she whispered at herself as she saw the entire picture of the room. There was thousands of iron cages standing at 10 rows. There were single beasts that have a resemblance with lichen and the hyena. Claire could not believe on what she sees since she did not know the real identity of Trainer. Who are they? Claire innocently asked but she could not receive any answer from the man. She rolled her eyes and she followed the man. Faster! Lord Trainer is waiting for you, the man said and she fastened her steps. but her eyes could not avert from the beast that yelping loudly inside their cage. She did not know what kind of beast they were, but there was only thing she was sure, the beasts were looked like modified one from their new appearance and their physical picture. "The Lord is waiting. Move fast," the man shouted again, and Claire immediately followed the man toward the certain room. But the appearance of those wild beasts still hunted her as she entered the room. "You are late in 10 seconds. Trainer said when he saw Claire entering. He was sitting on the black chair while taking a glass of wine. "Take a seat," he said, and Claire sat on the chair that trainered men give to her. "As you can see, this is my dean. My power and wealth are all what you see." Trainer seriously spoke as he looked at Claire, who was so uneasy after witnessing the strange dean. "It's too rare that I invite low kind of people here. And it's your privilege to come here to see how powerful I am. And now, I ask you again, are you willing to associate with me?" Trainer added, and Claire was stunned upon hearing what Trainer offered. "You don't have to do this to get my agreement. If you willing to kill here and ruin the governance of the Abram, I will stand on you," Claire said. "So, I think, you are ready to become part of my troop," Trainer replied, and the men smirked that made Claire to feel uneasy again. "How can I join?" Claire asked while her eyes kept on observing the entire area. "Be one of us by this," Beta Claudio said as he held the small rectangular box. Claire looked at the thing that Claudio holding. She felt something strange, even she did not have any witch power. "Don't be afraid. If you receive my gift, you will thanks me forever," Trainer added, and Claire still keeping her eyes at the thing seriously until it was took inside. 8. Trainer opened the box and the purple liquid was seen inside the bottle. It looked like a old poison bottle, but it contained something that made Claire to feel strange. What is that?" Claire asked as she kept on looking at the bottle. "This?" Trainer gazed at her as he spoke. "This is the precious item that I will give to you. It will make you much stronger than anybody. Even to the one you hate the most," Trainer added, seemed like he engaging Claire to take the liquid. "Even at here?" Claire innocently asked as she averted her gaze away from the bottle and looked at the other party. "Yeah. Even King cannot achieve the power that you may have if you take this," Trainer said, and Hirre was engaged by that sweet words of Trainer. "But I don't have any wolf. I am witch, but Hirre took it away from me. I hate her so much and I want her to suffer," Claire retorted, and she clenched her hands into fist. "So take it. It will be the answer of your prayer." Trainer smirked as he gave the bottle to Claire, who swallowed her saliva as she took the bottle from Trainer. The men around looked at Claire. They were silent, watching the next thing that might happen. Claire opened the lid and her face could not paint as she smelled the stingy liquid inside. "Ugh! What is this?" "It's stingy," Claire asked. Even her face could know how to react toward the smell of the liquid. "Just drink it. Don't mind the smell," Trainer seriously uttered as he looked at Claire's reaction. "Shit. I don't want to drink this. It looked like a juice of a rotten egg," Claire shouted, and it made Trainer to knit his eyebrows violently. "Just drink high tea. If you want to kill Hirre, do it now." Trainer's voice echoed along the entire room, and Claire felt the eagerness of the man to make her drink the liquid. She used her 2 fingers to close to pinch her nose as she drank the liquid. She felt she would vomiting hardly when the liquid reached her throat. For the second, she felt nothing, but the time passed and she felt dizzy. The surrounding was moving and everything become blurb. The bottle fell out from her hand and it bounced on the floor when she tried to sit down. It really affects you, Claire. Wait for a moment and you will see the result of my present. Trainer uttered and smirked like a devil watching his victim. Ugh! Claire suddenly growled loudly. Her voice echoed and suddenly turned into a husky deep roared, after 1 week tilde. Cheers! The people inside the pack house were having feast. They were celebrated the of Alejandro's sister birthday. The peaceful night of them was suddenly turned into a horror when they heard the loud cries outside the pack house. All of the people who heard that went to the glass window to see what happened. The lights were all turned off and it made Alejandro's father to feel uneasy. What's wrong to our electrical line? Why the lights are all turned off? Alpha Gregory asked as he saw the darkness that overfilled the outside. I don't know why. But I already ordered my beta to take a check on it. Alejandro replied and he calmly sat again on the chair. But when he was about to sit, they heard the boisterous scream outside. Hey! What's going on? Alejandro's mother asked. Her eyes were furious about the sound and her face could not paint well after hearing the horrifying scream. I'll check it. Alejandro replied and he immediately took the way out. But when he was about to open the door, Marcus was running rushly toward him. Alpha. Oh, our territory is under attack. A group of Rouges came and they cut the circuits. All of them tried to kill our people. The security systems are all ready but we are now late. Since the enemies entered our boundary. Marcus hurriedly spoke and even his voice was panting. Alejandro clearly understood what his gamma wanted to say. Hurry and move. We need to protect our pack, Alejandro shouted and his parents were put in fear. Father. Mother. Stay here and make sure that everything will be secure. I will send armies here to protect you. Alejandro said and Gregory nodded his head. After hearing his father, Alejandro quickly left the room and ran toward the hallway. He knew at himself that he did not have any wolf to use but his natural strength would be his protection. Do you even recognize the enemies? Alejandro asked while they were preparing themselves. No. They are all Rouges but they are not the Rouges that Sion have. For sure they are just a stray Rouges that attack our pack. Marcus replied but Alejandro knitted his eyebrows hearing that. I think you are wrong. The Rouges is one of the groups that know how powerful our pack was. So, the enemies who attack us right now is not an ordinary Rouges. So make sure that our security system are alert. The hunters and the assassins needs to go to the front line. Alejandro ordered Marcus and he mind-linked the people to stay alert. I need to contact Severus and hear about this. Alejandro muttered and he immediately went to his room to tell Severus the sudden attack. Here. We need King's help. Our pack is under attack and we need more assassins to kill the numbers of intruders. Alejandro said and here in the other line was surprised hearing Alejandro's news. Be careful Alejandro. The Rouges that attack you right now is the modified Rouges of Trainer. You should protect your people or else they will be one of your enemy too. Here warned Alejandro and it made the other party to stun. What do you mean? Alejandro asked since he did not know the real identity of Trainer. The Rouges are now modified and it was under the care of Trainer. They put drugs in the body of their victim to turn them into beast. If that happen, the war will begin. You should hide the majority of your people who incapable to fight because they are the target of the enemies. Here added and Alejandro felt the dryness of his throat. Shit. If that is true, our pack is in danger, Alejandro stated with the line of fear at his face. Don't worry. We will be there. While we are not attended, make sure that everything will be under control. I entrusted you the lives of your people. Hirre added before she ended up the line. Alejandro took a deep breath and he thought that Hirre tells how destructive the enemies that now in their territory. He clenched his hand into fist and tried to overcome the fear that embraced him at that moment.